Okay. Happy Spiritual Sunday to everybody. Happy Spiritual Sunday. So nice to see more friendly faces out there. Okay. So while we're populating here online, one of our friends, our new friend, Susan, I asked her to open up the book. If you haven't seen it or read it, it's a great book, Rethink Love. So Susan offering us this message through Monica Berg today. And it's the chapter, she actually opened right to the chapter, the first page of the chapter, distinguishing between fact and fiction. So Monica writes like this: a friend of ours who we don't see very often joined Michael, and me for dinner when our second son, Josh, came up in conversation. Michael and I had been talking about moving to New York. So this is back when they were still in LA. We were explaining that the move would be complicated by the additional support Josh needs in terms of therapy and overall assistance. Our friend, who's known Josh since birth, asked, "What do you mean? Why would Josh need therapy?" So I replied, "Well, you know he has Down syndrome." And our friend's mouth dropped open. He had no idea. After a brief pause, he said, "You just don't wear it." It was the biggest compliment he could have paid us. Why? Because when things happen in our lives, we tend to wear them. We wear our emotions on our faces and in our bodies. Feelings of betrayal, resentment, and sadness become the lines on our face, the foundations of our identity, and ultimately the energy with which we express ourselves. We become the character we've chosen in whatever tragedy, comedy, drama we've agreed is taking place. But it isn't always the case. Michael and I don't act like we have a child with a disability or treat him like he has one. In no way do we feel like victims. We just see our son. So I hope for all of us and all of you out there, it's inspiration, right, to handle whatever challenges are coming our way. And they seem to be getting more often, more frequent, no? Challenges. It's a good thing we learned from Kabbalah 1 what to do with those challenges, yes? Yes. Run away from them. No? Scream and yell. No? Well, we can't do the craziest thing, which would be to embrace them. Oh, we do? No wonder they say Kabbalah makes you crazy, right? If you're new and you're watching, please continue to watch and understand what that means. But yeah, they used to say Kabbalah makes you crazy. Now you know why. One aspect, instead of running away from challenges, you and I have come to learn what? That inside those challenges, the light of our blessings. When you wake up in the morning, what do you ask for, whether you realize it or not? What do you ask for? Light. Okay, and why do you want light? Let's be a little more sort of average. Have a great day. I want to have a great day. I want to have good in my business. I want to have good friends. I want to have protection on the street, right? So the universe obliges us. Says, here, the Creator already gave us everything. We've hidden it in those things we call klipot, shells. We block them. But the light inside them is still ours. So we say, give me my blessing, give me my blessing, give me my blessing, which means the ones that I don't have yet, that I haven't made manifest. And so what happens? I attract that energy because I've asked for it. The trouble is, the last 10, 20, 40, 50 years lifetimes, I've covered that energy in this shell of fear, anger, jealousy, greed, insecurity, something. So when I first see my light coming towards me, it looks like those negative things / challenges. And that's why we teach from Kabbalah 1 onward, you've got to embrace those challenges like a walnut. Crack the shell and extract the light from it. Extract the light. So what Monica was sharing with us is, even though you're faced with the challenges, don't treat them that way. Don't look at them like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? No, the opposite. We want to embrace them so that we can crack the shell and get the light, right? Extract the light. Okay. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you who are now populating here on online around the world. Let's see. There we go. All over. Yep. Hong Kong and Hawaii. Okay. So hello to all of you out there in cyberspace. Okay, so let's get started. First thing, I want to thank you all for joining us. We have a few more people than usual venturing out into the world, and I see you still all over the world, so I appreciate your joining us. And please start a watch party, share this message with others, After the event is over, you can share the videos again wherever you have your social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever you've got. And for you guys also, go home and put it back out there. Because if you're here and you're enjoying the message and it's inspiring and helping your life, let's make sure that the rest of our soul and our teammates are getting the same thing. Okay, so thank you for that. Yes, love to you all. Okay. All right. So let's get started. To paraphrase the saying you've probably heard, our greatest blockage is that we allow ourselves to feel and act inadequate. And our deepest truth is we are powerful beyond measure. Our biggest blockage is we allow ourselves to feel and act inadequate. Our deepest truth is that we are powerful beyond measure. So I want to explore something that we're all familiar with, but as you'll get the idea today, can often be used to block us, almost the paradox. And that's a thing called rules, right? There are rules. You drive on the street. Are there rules? Yes, there are. Not everybody seems to be following them, but there are rules, right? You go to a library. Are there rules in the library? Yes, you go to school. There are rules at school. You do your wash. If you go to a coin wash, there are rules. How to use the laundry. There's rules for everything and everywhere we go, yes? Okay. What are they meant to do? Ideally, those rules are telling us how to behave and how not to behave. Right? That's the rules. So let's think for a moment, what about us? So there are those rules, how you drive on the street and things like that. The, let's say, temporarily established rules. What about the rules we make? Do you realize you make your own rules? Besides those, driving on the street or playing sports or whatever it is, we have our own rules. And let me give you some examples so you can start thinking about it, because you may not even realize there are rules. I have rules how I get up in the morning and wash. None of you? You don't kind of follow the same routine every day? You know, how you get up, how you wash, what you do first, second, third, fourth? If you see yourself doing it the same way day after day, then it's important that you understand that what you're really saying is these are my rules of how to get up and start my morning, or how I make my breakfast, or how I wash my dishes. We create our own rules. Nobody had to tell us, right? Yeah, our parents told us, get up and wash your face. How you do it, what you do now, how you activate it, which one comes first, second, third, or whatever, is up to us. So we're creating our own rules. And then there's a few more. I won't date ... Fill in the blank. I'm just looking around here to see if everyone's getting it, right? I won't work with blank. Shh. Troublemaker here. Right? I would never blank. They're not going to like me if. Okay? I just want to start putting it in your mind so you start thinking. Think about the rules you've created in your life. Exactly. But, I say, okay, we probably have a general idea of some of the rules, some of the things, the usual ones. But now I'm hoping I'm awakening inside you a consciousness of how many rules we really create. What do you eat? What do you eat? Well, I eat this and this and this and this, but I don't eat this and this and this. Okay, we'll see here in a minute, right? These rules, ideally, what do they say? Like the rules of the road. What's the real purpose of the rules of the road? Keep everybody safe and happy. The rules of the library, let everybody have an enjoyment. The rules in sports, right? Make sure the game goes well and teams can play fairly and nobody gets hurt or whatever, ideally, yes? That's it. But do we see that? You see people following the rules and they have a chaos in their life. Then you find people who are breaking the rules and they seem to have all the good things that we would like to have. So what does it do? It creates the rule of chaos and confusion. I'm confused in my mind. And unless we do something about it, unless we start to apply what we're learning here in the center, then that chaos stays. So it becomes a rule. And how do you know? What do they tell us? What do they tell us about life? the age-old one. Let's not get too close to now. There's nothing sure. I guess I'm the oldest one in the room. Okay. Nothing sure but death and taxes. Right? So everybody's established these various rules, and essentially now I think I'm hearing a little bit like your beliefs, but those become rules. Those have become rules. So we want to look at it, we want to understand, why is it that this can happen? So I'll tell you a story. It was probably 1980, 81, something like that. I just started in my spiritual path, and I was moving away from being a doctor. So I was, working to sort of pay my bills. And I was doing some construction. And I worked with this guy back then who had lived in Montana, obviously before the 80s. He was caught in Montana with 2 marijuana seeds in a little vial. Seeds. 2 years of jail. Okay, those were the rules. Now, when I met him in the 80s in California, the rule then was that if you had, I forget what the measure was, but if you had a bag of marijuana, it was like a parking fine. So what happened to the rules? Right? You can't say, oh, over there, because also in California, I'm sure it was strict when he got arrested back then, but they changed it. So, what does it tell us about the rules? It depends on us. The same way, how many of you have changed your diet? And I'm not saying gave up the diet, but you were on one diet, eating this way, and then for whatever reason you decide, no, I don't want to eat that way. Right? Or we just change the rules. Diet, 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 diet. And then what do you say to yourself? Well, no, they say it's okay to have a cheat day. So I changed the rules, right? Okay, now I can have my cheat day and still be within what I think are the rules. So we've got to understand it keeps changing. Now here's a tougher one. And I hope if you're new, please ask questions of the friends who introduced you, or write me and ask questions. But let's be open-minded and think together, objectively. The rules of religion. Think of your background, whatever religion you grew up in. Did the rules that you grew up with ever change? Whatever your religious leaders were, right? The original rules were this. Let's call it quote unquote orthodoxy. I don't care, Orthodox, Christian, Jew, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu. There were very strict rules. And then people came along and said what? No, those aren't the rules anymore. Right? Because now we have computers, we have airplanes, we have all these other things. So what did they do? Now they tell you your religious rules changed. So what happened to God? Oh yeah, I forgot. God changed its mind. Right? God woke up one day and said, okay, these are the rules. And of course created rules for the Catholics, the Jews, the Christian, the Muslim, the Buddhists, all slightly different, right? But even let's say we're going with that. Here's the established rules. Then people came along and said, no, those aren't the rules anymore. God changed his mind, and I'm divining whoever that religious leader was, that now we can do this and this and this, it's okay. Let's start thinking objectively. And again, please don't take it, I'm not being disrespectful, I want us to open up. Because as you're going to come to hear, yes, every religion has an essence, has a string of truth that we're going to talk about. It's just like the diet. Today I want to be on this diet. Oh no, I don't like it, or I'm tired of eating that food. So then I heard about this diet where they can also lose weight and get health, and I'll go on that diet. So we often change the rules, even that we personally operate with, for what? Yeah, our own comfort. Right? Too difficult to follow those rules, so we'll come up with new rules, or we'll find other people who are telling us these rules, and they're a little easier. That's why in 34 years in the center, not every person who came and had miracles has stayed. Because as you who've been with us for a while, and you understand that the more you grow and elevate your consciousness, then the rule is you have to work harder to get to your next level, not easier. And not everybody's willing to consistently work harder and push themselves more to grow to that level, to their next higher level. They want to, what? They'll look around the world. Like we said, there's so many different rules. Oh, you don't like the rules of Kabbalah? You know, how you have to keep pushing yourself and sharing more and doing more? Well, you know, you heard about this guy over here. He's saying, no. Just close your eyes, meditate, you know, imagine, envision, and it'll be all okay. Right? So think of what we're inferring about God. If you understand that religion or spirituality are a set of rules to connect us and glue us to the light of the Creator, or as Rav Asher, like the founder of the center, calls it dvukut, like gluing. Glue yourself to the light of the Creator, then how many different rules can there be? How can you keep changing it like that? Yes, I want you to think about that. So we have to understand, we can't change the rules. There are rules. Now, not all of us have been, what's the word? We have not been introduced to those rules. We are not familiar with the rules. We grew up with various rules. Even in your house, mom and dad said, no, you must. You know what the rule was when I grew up? Don't go outside with wet hair. The boogeyman of the cold will catch you. Oh, see, they suddenly became older here. They know that rule, right? The other one, they don't. Right? Then you grow up and you realize, no, that's not true. You can go outside with wet hair and still not catch a cold in the middle of winter in a wintry state or place, not Florida, not California. And a person can go out with dry hair and still catch a cold. Yes or yes? Exactly. So these are the kind of things you grow up with. So what's my point? Even those, quote, religious rules, our own rules, the civil rules or whatever, the rules are not the goal. That's what people have tend to make. Have to follow the rules. Have to follow the rules. Have to follow the rules. No. The point is understanding that the rules are a means to an end. The rules are the pathway to get somewhere. Even simple, driving. Why are there rules to drive? So that's all you focus on? You get nowhere? Just drive in circles? But safely in circles? No. The point is to be able to go from point A to B, where you're to arrive at your destination in harmony and order, right? With all the other drivers on the road. They're means to an end. But what happened is, those of you familiar with this idea of the opponent, that little parasite of negativity and limitation in our head, the piece that's not us, but when we came out of the endless world, we injected in ourselves to give us free will. That little parasite is the one who keeps putting in, no. The goal is the rule. And where is the prime example of that? Religion. And I don't care what religion. I'm equal opportunity religious mind opener. Let's put it that way, right? So it doesn't matter what religion. I want you to open your minds. Whatever those rules you grew up with, the purpose was ways and means to connect to the light of the Creator more and more strongly. But that opponent, that adversary in our head, made the rules the goal. So whatever your religion is, whatever your day of rest, you got to show up there so God can take attendance. I showed up. Church, mosque, synagogue, temple, whatever it is, I showed up. So the purpose is the rules. You follow, the goal was the rules, not the means to connect to the light of God. And that's what's missing. That's been what's missing. So I want to share with you, okay, I will get through this. So first, before I share with you my personal experience of late, which is what inspired today's message, you got to remember, at least we teach, and the Bible does, whatever religion you are, if you believe in the book of Genesis, just look very simple. God created man in its image and likeness. Now, when somebody says, oh, you look like your mom or dad, or something like that, what do they mean? You have similar characteristics. So if we are all created in the image and likeness of God, all of us, every human being, what does that mean? Because obviously we don't look physically like God, or I don't know what you could imagine God looking like, 7.5 billion different faces and colors and, attributes. No, it means we have the same power. We have a likeness. If we consider God the creator, then we have the power to create. If we believe that God's energy, light as we call it, is the power to heal, then we also have the power to heal. Using God's light, it's not our power, I think we said last week, but we have the ability to use that power. If God can create blessings for people, then we have that same power, that same ability. So, as I started in the beginning, we are powerful beyond measure, but we allow ourselves to play and act inadequate. So I had this experience I'm going to share with you, where some of you, I think along the way, the last few months, I've shared a few here and there, but I've had these series of meditations that I've been doing and coming up with all kinds of revelations, particularly about my past lives. So without giving you all the details, let's just, because it'll be pertinent to this, so let's just say over many, many lifetimes, and some of you who've been with me on Spiritual Sunday for a long time could probably see how and understand that, because in the beginning, up until very recently, for me, it was like, hey, watch out. There's pain and suffering all over the world. You better start watching out because you don't want to have pain and suffering. And it wasn't working. But anyway, so I see in all my past lives, or this series of them, that I was like that. Simple terms, you don't have to believe me. If reincarnation is not familiar to you, just get the message. Right? Don't worry about the details, but accept the message. So like in the time of Noah, what was the story of Noah? He was out warning people for 300 years, the flood is coming. The flood is coming, the flood is coming. Change your ways, be more spiritual, care, share, love more, etc. They didn't listen to him. So I see in a series of lifetimes, that was me, similar things like that. And what happened, and this was the revelation, what happened over probably all these lifetimes that I saw, either I was killed, hurt, tortured because I was out warning people, or people that I loved and cared for were tortured or killed or put to death, etc. So now I come into this lifetime, and what do I realize? I'm playing small, right? Because you can understand from that point of view, my soul has the memory. If you stand out too much, if you speak out too much, boom, the hammer's going to come down in one way or another. Why? Because it's happened before, right? How many of you have had an experience like being bitten by a dog years back? You bitten by a dog, hurts, you had to get shots, it was painful, this and this. So it sticks in your memory. Tell me honestly that even 2-3 years later, or if it was as a kid, even as an adult, you didn't have that little flinch when a dog came by. No matter what, big dog, small dog, friendly dog, your friend's dog, there was always that little like this. Why? Because you've been bitten once. So you're just reminded on an internal level, those dogs create pain. So you stay away, you stay away. So I was realizing in this meditation, that's what I was doing this lifetime. I was hiding myself in these laws, even of Kabbalah. I was hiding myself in these rules and playing small. And that I realized, that's not the purpose. The point of the rules, like we said, what are the point of the rules of driving? To limit, right, the accidents, etc., trouble, chaos, so people can drive safely. What came out of my mouth through this meditation was what? The rules, even the religious rules, are meant to limit and overcome chaos, pain, and suffering, and allow us to manifest all the light, the blessing, the talent, the capability that the Creator put inside of us. But we say consciousness is everything. I was using those rules to kind of limit myself. Like I said, on a diet, right? So the diet says do X, Y, Z, and now person get a little tired, a little tired, a little tired. So someone will tell you, yes, even within that diet, there's the cheat day, right? So, there's a rule, I have a cheat day. But the cheat day doesn't mean 4 gallons of ice cream and 2 dozen chocolate chip cookies. You follow? But the rule is I can have a cheat day. You understand? So we can use the rules to limit us. The same with these, even spiritual or religious rules. Well, this is the rule. This is how you have to act, etc. Why? Because then I'm okay. If I follow the rules, I'm okay. I'm not bad, right? I'm doing the right thing, so I'm okay. But am I pushing myself to use the rules on a higher level? No. I want to stay limited. Why? Because in my case, all these past life things, and each of us, and I want you to think about it. How do you limit yourself? How do you allow yourself to behave less than you even know you could? I'm sure all of us have much more potential than we even have in our mind. But I'm sure we all have some vision of something better in our life. I could do more at work. I could do more for others. I could do, in some way we can already envision just that. But we're playing small. Why? Because the rule, like you say, what's the rule? If I do this, if I say this, they're not going to like me. They're not going to approve. And my rule is I need approval. I need to be liked. I don't want anyone to say anything bad about me. I don't want them to look at me funny. Right? We have those rules, and then in those rules we find that limitation. I hope you're getting it. And I hope that you're personalizing it. Because it's easy, right? What will that opponent tell you? Oh, isn't that Chaim, such a nice story. He's telling us a nice story. It's all about Chaim. No, it's about you. You and me, we're not that different. I have my potential that I'm not living. You have your potential you're not living. God gave us something beyond our imagination. So let's start with the steps. How do you live beyond where you are now to even the things that you have in your mind? You know what? You could do this at work. You could do this with your family. You could do this with your friends. You could do this in your life. Somehow, you have more power. Live into that. Start doing that. And then once you get to that level, you'll find out the next thing. You go into first grade. They tell you all the math. Now we're going to learn the addition and subtraction, right? Are they already putting in your mind high school math? No. You'll do your first grade math, and then you get to second grade that you build up, right? So you have no idea what's coming in high school when you're in first, second, third grade. You follow the idea. So wherever we are now, just envision the next grade. Whatever's there, start working into that. Live that life, and then whatever will come next will be shown to you. So like this. So I wanted you to understand these eternal rules. And I truly believe that's what Kabbalah is. The Zohar is the blueprint of the universe, which means it contains all the rules, but not the rules like we're talking about where it changes tomorrow and we can alter it and, today it works this way and tomorrow works that way. No. Eternal rules, by definition, are eternal. They do not change. So I just wanted to put in your mind a couple of them. If you want more and you haven't studied with us, go to Kabbalah 1, take Kabbalah 1, start exploring on Kabbalah.com, these different classes. Take Kabbalah 1. You'll start to learn. We call them the rules and the tools, but they're universal. They're not Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist. They're not Democrat, Republican, Chinese, Middle Eastern, South American. No, these are rules for humanity. And that's why they do work for everybody, even when we don't think we see it. So just to give you the basics, a couple initial ones. One is cause and effect, right? Everybody in some way is now talking about it, right? Action, reaction, what goes around comes around, law of attraction, positive thinking, right? What you put out there will come back. But how many people really, really, really are willing to accept cause and effect when they lose money, when they get sick, when bad things happen? Oh no, then the law of cause and effect doesn't work. No, I'm sorry to tell you, my friends, and that's what we learn, and that's why for me, it is essential that even if you're 25, 30 years in the center, you go back and review Kabbalah 1 at least once a year, because we have to be reminded the eternal nature of these rules. Cause and effect works 100% to the most minute detail, even when we can't perceive it, or even when it's uncomfortable. But that's why, as we spoke a little in the beginning, that's why we learn from Kabbalah 1, embrace your challenges, embrace the difficulty, because from your point of view, you have free will to crack that shell, like we said in the walnut, and draw the light out of that challenge. But if you just throw it away, imagine somebody wants to eat walnut and somebody gives them a walnut and they've never seen maybe the whole nut. So they give him, it looks like a shell. I say, no, I asked for a walnut. I say, yeah, it's inside there. No, I want a walnut like I get when I buy the ones that are already opened. No. Well, how do you think it got there? They had to crack the shell. You didn't see them crack the shell. You just buy it when it's already just the walnut meat itself. Now you see the whole walnut, you say, oh, wait, I mean, there's a shell, I got to crack the shell? Yes. So the same way, we learn from Kabbalah 1, embrace that walnut, embrace your challenges, embrace what looks like chaos, and then follow the rules and the tools that are universal, that work for everybody to crack that shell and draw out the light and that blessing. So cause and effect works. And I know some of you, and if you're newer, yeah, some people went through terrible, terrible trauma. From our point of view, we always have the ability of getting light, drawing light from it, making good come from it, make blessings come from it. It doesn't have to remain traumatic 10, 15, 20, 30 years after the fact. Yes, it was a terrible thing, and cause and effect does not excuse the other person. But it also doesn't excuse us to stay in a pit of despair, darkness, hopelessness, the quicksand of chaos. The other rule, love your neighbor as yourself. So it's nice. Again, we all have heard, and maybe we've even lived it to our own benefit, to our own comfort. And unfortunately, I've heard it from a number of people being taught through different religious traditions. Love your neighbor as yourself means if you're a Catholic, your neighbors are Catholic. If you're Jewish, your neighbors are Jewish. If you're Lutheran, your neighbors are Lutheran. If you're Muslim, you understand? That's how people will look at it. They will limit themselves, like we said, inadequate through the rules. The rule is love your neighbor. Oh, of course I love my neighbor. But my neighbor is the one like me, not the ones who aren't like me. Why? Because it'd be uncomfortable. Right? It's uncomfortable to sort of draw in to my sphere of love and care and compassion maybe some of those different people. The law of love your neighbor as yourself is eternal. It works for all of us. We will all eventually live into it because eternal rules mean we will live them at some point. What you and I are learning here in the Kabbalah Center is how to live them voluntarily, how to push ourselves uncomfortably to look at that guy who's not like me, not extremely dislike me, but a little bit, and reach out to them, extend my circle of care, love, compassion, and kindness and forgiveness. And then, like we said, then I can go the next level and the next level and next level. Don't worry about 3 levels down or 5 levels. Just go to the next one, and then you'll see what's there next. So if you start to think just those tools, like the rules and the tools of Kabbalah 1, and they are eternal and they're fundamental. You can learn Kabbalah 55,000, and at the end of what you learn there, it still comes down to the rules and the tools of Kabbalah 1. And that's why for me it's essential we all learn Kabbalah 1 over and over and over again. All right? So these eternal rules, like we said, the purpose is not to limit our blessing. The purpose is to limit the chaos. Think about it. Even the simple ones, okay? And I don't want to get into all the explanation, but we can all understand the idea. Thou shalt not murder. Okay, even simple. Forget the fact that it looks like sometimes people get away with murder, but you understand the concept. What was the purpose of that rule? And as the Kabbalists teach us, they're not called commandments. They're Eser Dibrot. If you speak Hebrew, if you want to look it up in a translation app or something, Dibrot comes from the word dibur, to speak, not to command. So there are 10 sayings or 10 pieces of advice. So what did the Kabbalists teach us it really means? You're being advised it's not good for the person to murder or kill somebody else. Go back to cause and effect. If we understand that's an eternal rule, even covering lifetimes, then if a person killed in a past lifetime, The rule of cause and effect means they'll have to be killed in the next lifetime. But of course, it could look like they're just an innocent person walking down the street and or attacked by somebody. You say, oh my God, how did that happen? Chaos and confusion. Well, no, stand back and look at the bigger picture. Past life they did, this life it came to them. Now, there's other aspects within that rule. Love your neighbor as yourself, which means what? So let's say this person A, killed in a past life, and they come into this lifetime, and for whatever reason now they're just kind of nice, a generally good person, and it's about to be on their way. Let's say we could see spiritually in a year they're supposed to be killed, one way or another. But they get turned on to the Kabbalah Center, they come, they take Kabbalah 1, ooh, wow-wee, amazing, my mind is open, rules and tools, I get it, right? Embrace the challenge. When I'm triggered, pause, think about what's my emotion, what's going on with me, how do I transform that? And let's say they do, which is applying love your neighbors yourself. Instead of being angry at that person, awaken compassion. That's loving my neighbor as myself, because it means I see I want compassion, so I offer them compassion. Love your neighbor. Now, because of that transformation, then the cause and effect energy changed. A person begins to pay back, if you will, the life they took in a past life. When they pay it all back, then they don't need to be killed in this life. Because to be killed in this lifetime was just to pay off the debt of killing somebody else. But if they pay it off in advance by other effort, being kind to the person they couldn't stand, acknowledging at least within themselves, okay, embrace that hateful person in your sphere of love. They pay back that energy, they don't need to die. They don't need to die. So the rule still works, because even just the two we talked about, I hope you're seeing how they can fit together. The more we love our neighbor as ourselves, really push ourselves outside our comfort zone, outside what was yesterday our neighborhood, to love and care and compassion and generosity and tolerance, etc. Outside that, we begin paying back by cause and effect what we owed by cause and effect. I want it to sink in because it's extremely powerful. And this is why in the center we teach what? Go out and share. Everything's about sharing. Because the more you push yourself to share, the more you're paying back what we call tikkun, or you could call it karma, that cause and effect debt. But if a person just stays the same, and you could be by all your friends, everybody you work with, everybody could say about you, but they're so nice, just the nicest person I've ever known. That may be true even. But if you, who are the nicest person they know, are not pushing yourself from your point of view outside that level of niceness to be nicer, kinder. That's why when we have our affirmation, right? Greater love, compassion, and kindness. Not that I didn't do it before and now I'm going to start. No, greater and greater. So you're the nicest person. There is a way. There's somebody out there you don't like. In some level, embrace them in your energy of love and compassion. Now you begin to pay that debt back. And various challenges or difficult situations don't have to show up because you already paid it. You pay back your credit card, the debt collector doesn't have to come after you. It's the same idea. Same idea. So I want us to wake up. Wake up today and realize that these rules that we learn in Kabbalah, the wisdom of the Zohar, this technology, they are not meant to keep us down. They're not meant to keep us under control. They're not meant to make us less than. The opposite. We know consciousness is everything. And so today the idea is let's work together in unity as one. Use these eternal rules. Even just start with those two. Become aware everything is cause and effect. Everything. The people I see, I'm driving down the street. I may not even talk to them. May have no interaction, but that I'm driving down the street and they're on the sidewalk or they're in the other cars. It's also exactly cause and effect. Maybe I did the same thing 10 years ago, maybe in a past life, I don't know. So let me just emanate. God filled us with light. Let me emanate some of my light to the other drivers and people on the sidewalk and ultimately everybody. If I push myself, I'm paying my debt. And then I may not even know what chaos was taken away. Drive down the street. Maybe somebody was supposed to be in an accident, but because they were sharing light, they went outside their comfort zone, they just drive like every day, home, work, shopping, etc. No incident. So they may not be aware that they saved themselves from an accident, but they did. But they did. Cause and effect works. Love your neighbors yourself. So then our job is to implement that more and more. So the more we work together and we implement in our lives these rules, these eternal rules, love your neighbor, cause and effect, go outside our comfort zone, then we are keeping the consciousness to overcome our negativity, to allow our light, our greater being, our true godliness to show up in the world. And the more we do that, with these greater acts of love and kindness and compassion, we will draw from everybody else on earth their godliness that the Creator put inside them, that will help them break through whatever it is we perceive they're doing, their anger, their jealousy, their ego, their fear, their violence, whatever. Everybody is a godly person. Everybody has that image and likeness of God in them. The more we gather people to use these rules, love your neighbor, cause and effect, let your light shine. Use the rules not to limit your good. Use the rules to overcome the chaos, the negativity, those false lies that opponent and that parasite in our head are bringing. Open yourself up. Let yourself live into your true godliness, your true greatness, and draw out of everybody else. Because when there's a collective quantum of light beings, light being revealed, that the light outweighs the darkness, then that gate that was closed when we were parts of Adam and Eve and were pushed out of the garden and the gate closed behind us, the only way to open that gate is when we do it collectively. So as we work together, we use these tools, we use these rules, we live into our godliness. We're willing to stick our neck out. We're willing to, with love and compassion, share with other people, point out things with other people for their good, and then bring them into this unity and this oneness, being on the same team, being all one consciousness. It doesn't mean you have to be the same language, religion, whatever, oneness of the soul. Then automatically, we don't have to break down the gate. The gate of the Garden of Eden just opens up and all of us can enter in. God bless. Okay, so join us for a minute. I have a question. So far we got a nice supply. And those of you who haven't written, who have questions, write me questions. Because as you hear after our offering, I'm going to give you the answer to the question of the day. But first, let's do our offering. One, I just want to thank you for all your donations, all your support, because it helps us continue not only with Spiritual Sunday, but expand the mission of bringing this wisdom, bringing these tools, particularly the Zohar, to every person on earth. Oh, let me give you that while we're on it. So, I had this revelation through a conversation with somebody. Rules and tools, like we just talked about. People still thinking, well, but I'm limited by the rules. So let's think of a light bulb. Does a light bulb work by electrical rules? Yes, right? There's rules to electricity, etc. Now, if you think about it, if you want to take a 5-watt light bulb, and please, if you know all the electronics, just take it as the example. But you got this 5-watt light bulb, it's working on the rules of electricity. Now, you want that light bulb to shine 5,000 watts. Do you say, okay, I'm not going to use the rules of electricity. I'm just going to do whatever I feel like. I'm going to take a piece of thread and I'm going to string that from the electrical box outside to my, electrical lamp, and then, of course, it'll light up. No, the rules don't change. But by using those rules, like we said, with a higher consciousness, which in our case, love your neighbor, cause and effect, etc., what can we do? Now we can make a 5-watt light bulb shine 5,000 watts. By using the rules, we're not limiting. We're able to expand the intensity. So the same way with you and I, as we're willing to use these rules to a higher degree with higher consciousness, we get higher energy in return. That's the point. So when we spread the Zohar, which is like that light bulb, and I again want to emphasize for you, it's not just the wisdom. The Zohar itself says, if you have a Zohar, look it up in the section of Naso, it says simply, this book, the physical book of the Zohar, because it's in Aramaic, and most of you understand the power of those Aramaic or Hebrew light particles, right? They're not letters per se. They're particles or portals to the upper world, to the endless world of infinite light. So it shines light like a light bulb. So those are the most powerful spiritual light bulbs. And that's why, yes, the purpose of this, or the mission of the center, is spread those Zohar everywhere. When you turn on enough light, darkness goes away. The reason why we do teach is, yes, to help elevate consciousness, but to what end? To understanding the power of the Zohar, and then help us spread the Zohar. Because if we all want the end of pain, suffering, and death, which is very close, that's why we're all feeling. If you really close your eyes, especially us who are more spiritually open, you close your eyes and you just listen to your soul, you can feel, you can almost see. The Garden of Eden is right around that corner. Like we just said, the gate is right there. I just have to walk half a block. It's not miles away. That's what we want to keep our focus on. I want to enter over there in the Garden of Eden, but I can't enter if I don't bring all of you with me. So then love your neighbor as yourself means if I want in, I've got to help you get in. If you want in, you've got to help others. And that's the power. So if this has changed you in any way, shape, or form for the good, you've seen any good, please open your heart, open your pocketbook, and just help us speed up the process. And this is why we take this moment just to bless our offering. So whatever it is, because money is just a vessel, and it will bring out, it will create a result of whatever we put in it. So let's put our love, our blessing, our compassion, our gratitude, our light into this gift, into this offering, with the consciousness that will reach out to the heart and soul of every person on earth, to bring them a spiritual awakening that will be so powerful that it will nag them until they implement love your neighbor, greater kindness and compassion, that will then bring them a greater sense of lasting, eternal fulfillment, goodness, peace, bliss, and their eyes will open to see the unity and oneness of all humanity. And then they too will be motivated and excited to join together heart and soul with every person on earth, that we can open those gates of the Garden of Eden, the heaven on earth that exists, that we'll take away those blockages, and we will all live in eternal bliss and unity. Together we say, Amen. So thank you for joining us. Thank you those who are still with us. Right? Lots of love and light and blessings. And please, we send you blessings. You'll send us blessings. Let's share this energy, share this video, share this wisdom. Get people on Kabbalah.com so we can make the end of all pain, suffering, death, not delay any longer. God bless to all of you. Thank you.